Welcome to the Small Biz Rescue Podcast, where we deep dive into the heart of entrepreneurship. Toolbox in hand, ready to fix and have your business flourish. From practical, immediate steps to success stories from normal people that can inspire you. We are here to untangle the fears, simplify the process, and show you that business mastery is within reach. Whether you're starting fresh or turning the tide on an existing venture, we are your allies in eradicating entrepreneurial enslavement. Let's roll up the sleeves, make business freedom your reality, one episode at a time. You're not alone. Let's rescue your business together. Woo! What's up, guys? Welcome back to Small Biz Rescue. Today, we are joined with a very special guest. And I know this is going to be the second ever episode. And so I want to come out of the gate swinging and provide as much value as we can. This guest I met through real estate. He creatively, we could get into that if we really wanted to, creatively got a bunch of high profile people to come to an event when he actually knew nobody. And I somehow ended up at that event because someone else that was famous dropped out. And they have an awesome time. And more so than that. So met them in real estate. They're rocking and rolling, buying small businesses or about to. There's a lot of value add they have. But today we're going to be talking about AI and what it means to us. It is the beginning of 2024 right now, and things have drastically changed. So without further ado, I was going to introduce Dean Valentini.
What's up, Hugh? Thanks so much for the intro, man. And now you're the famous one, so it's come full circle. You are with the ski retreat attendees, I'll tell you that much.
Well, cool. Hopefully we can just go and provide as much value as I can with as many people. So, well, before we get into the business side with tactics, right? Today, Dean, I think you said we're going to start a little bit with philosophy of AI and why, and what's the impact going to be? What's the future? Then we're going to get into tactics on how you can use it. Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds good to me, man. I know everybody wants to hear tactics and actionable things that they can implement in their business to improve their operations, to do things more efficiently, to do things better, faster, and just more of it. But as far as I'm concerned, the philosophy is maybe not as important, at least in the short term. But it's definitely something that people need to be aware of and consider to be able to see where this stuff is going and to really just be able to envision the possibilities. Because if you don't know what's out there, what's coming, you're not going to know how to implement it or what to try to learn about and adopt for your business to really take advantage of it and maximize it to the max extent possible. And frankly, I just think it's fun to talk about. All these considerations, we could go down so many rabbit holes. We'll try to keep it focused today, but yeah, I think the philosophy side and kind of the 10-year projection is just as important as a lot of the tactical stuff, which we'll also get into.
Yeah, a great way I want to put this for the listeners who maybe this is the first interaction with them. Well, one, this is going to be a snapshot in history. But let's go back in time. There was a time before email existed, right? If you went to the Guinness Book of World Records, 1989, the end of the decade edition or whatever it is, the word internet wasn't even mentioned in the book, right? Same thing. You look at BlackBerry, world dominated, world domination, in charge. And 2007, iPhone comes out. They failed to adapt, and they're completely dissolved as a company now. And we have a lot of crazy stuff. And so really, this is kind of another one of those points. And I would not know about it if it weren't for you, Dean, for taking it and rubbing it in our faces to be like, hey, at the ski retreat, this is important. You guys need to be paying attention because those who are not paying attention are going to get left behind. So there's that. Yep. That being said, we are going to get into it with Dean. This is going to be, when we get to the tactics part, we're going to be showing some video stuff. If you are listening in a car, we're going to do the best we can, to still provide the value. But some of the stuff is crazy and it's incredible. We're going to do the best we can to make it accessible for our audio listeners. But there will be a live YouTube video that you can re-listen to later. and Dean's going to go through the slides and everything, and he's going to show like real world stuff that I've already done too. We'll see one of my videos and one of his videos. It is it's terrifying, and yeah. So we'll kind of jump in.
It's all in how you look at it. It's terrifying and inspiring, both.
Right. So Dean, why? So what kind of got you started on all of this with? Kind of, how did you find out about it? I mean, you cared enough to research it and then shove it in our face at the ski retreats.
Yeah, so I'm a giant nerd for those who don't know me. I have computer engineering, electrical engineering background degrees, as well as flight test engineering through the Air Force. So giant engine nerd on the computer engineering side, computer science side, like, you know, that's my academic background. I've always been fascinated by computers and technology and you know, innovation. So it was kind of natural for me to gravitate towards this stuff. I actually did a little bit of work with AI and ML, machine learning, back when I was still in college. So I, you know, touched on it back then before it was big, before the hype came out, way before ChatGPT was ever even an inkling. And kind of like you alluded to, Hugh, you know, AI and ML have been around for 60, 70 years. Like, this is not new. It's just gotten to the point now where it's, the way I like to put it is this democratized, right? So they made it so that the layperson could type in just human basic conversational language and get out human basic conversational language. You don't have to go in and like program it and, you know, write code like I was doing in college to be able to have this thing spit out what you wanted to spit out. You literally just talk to it like a human. And that's made it accessible so that anybody who has access to a computer and internet can leverage this stuff and leverage it almost to the same degree as, you know, a programmer, for example. Not quite. Still, there's still a little bit of a disparity there. Like if I, who know how to code and how to program and how to interface with the back end of this stuff, go in and use it, I can leverage it much more powerfully than somebody who's just typing into ChatGPT. But we've diminished the gap significantly, and I think that's, you know, to the benefit of everybody. So that's kind of a little bit of my background. And then when I started to see it gain popularity, I was like, wow, I should really catch back up with this stuff and dive back in. And because I could immediately see that the impact it was going to have, the scale. And like you said, you know, that's one of the things I stress in when I give this as more of a presentation is like, you don't have to adopt it, but if you don't, you're going to be left behind by the people who do adopt it, because they're going to be, this is not an exaggeration, literally thousands of times more productive than you are by using some of this stuff. So
in seconds,
ignore it at your own peril. Yeah.
Yeah. And the part of the reason I'm bringing you on the show so early with, you know, Small Biz Rescue is my background is a systems and process engineer, right? So all I do, and that's what I kind of showed, like, yeah, it's funny, we're not really talking about real estate very much right now, but we met at a real estate conference, and all I did was systematize. I'm a systems and process expert, and I applied that to real estate fundamentals and retired like 15 months later, and, you know, a millionaire and whatever. Now I'm a 2.5 millionaire at the time of this. It's, how is this going to be used, and how is this affected at small business? We're going to get into the tactics of that, but it is absolutely wild, right? You know, if you listen to some of the Cody Sanchez stuff out there, hey, look for a small business and cash flows, buy it, implement some simple things. So this might save a lot of our audience members when they're listening. They're going to be coming at it from, I'm the small business that's sinking. I don't want to get bought. I don't want to go out of business. How can I use this? So kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's the type of thing, as you mentioned, Rocky and I, you know, by the time this episode airs, hopefully we'll be under LOI or maybe even under a purchase agreement on a business. We're working on that right now.
What is an LOI for people who have never heard of that before?
Letter of intent. So in the business acquisition world, LOIs exist in many different disciplines. In real estate world, you know, it's common in the commercial real estate space where you basically submit and say, hey, I want to buy your property. Similar in the business world where you're kind of saying, here's my initial terms that I'm proposing. It's a non-binding letter, but it's basically just to establish like a path forward, and you're kind of exclusive, like you're dating at that point with the business owner. And they've agreed. They're like, I like you, you know, we like them. And we're in the same ballpark on purchase price and the other important terms. Let's start digging in deeper and make sure there's no, you know, red flags that cause us to walk away, like you have a crazy ex or something like that, that's kind of the phase that we're working towards right now. So hopefully by the time this episode airs, we'll be much further down that line. But yeah, like that's the type of thing that we have a good background in. Rocky's an engineer as well. We have a very strong tech background, automation, AI, and those are some of the things that we see ourselves bringing to any business we acquire later down the road, to be able to improve it and help it grow, and frankly make life easier on ourselves and the employees, really. So it's lots of benefits.
And we're probably going to come back. Maybe we have you and Rocky on a return podcast about just how to buy a business, right? Because there might be, I don't know, Jim's Plumbing out there who's listening to this, or rather, I'm some guy and I want to buy Jim's Plumbing, or you buy Jim's Plumbing and you're like, you know what, I'm going to buy Jeff's Plumbing as well. And people don't even know where to begin. And it's super simple and straightforward, and you guys really make it easy. But let's get into a little bit about the philosophy side. For those of you who don't know about machine learning, they don't know about AI, I'm going to walk you back to something that I remember from my college. And I was in computer science or whatever it was, InfoSec in the business school. And I had a course called Diamonds in a Data Mine. And I didn't know what that was. And it was basically how Walmart and casinos looked at things. And one of the interesting stories that I remember is, and to this day, when you go to Walmart, where's the milk, Dean?
Hopefully in the dairy section.
It might be, but where's the dairy section?
Oh, geez, I don't know. Back corner of the store? Usually?
It's in the very back corner, in full view of the doorway. So when you walk through the Walmart door, you can actually go look all the way back at the back of the store, and that's where the dairy section is. And that was the very beginning of it, right? Where Walmart was figuring out, hey, you know what? These are the staples. These are the most, eggs, milk, bacon. It's all the way at the back. We're going to have to force everybody to walk past all these end caps. Then they sell the end caps, right? That's a crazy one. I mean, they found some other discoveries. Do you know where the diaper section is?
Center-ish.
Okay, that's pretty close. It's right next to where the alcohol section is in almost all Walmart stores.
I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I think
what they were figuring out is that if diapers were purchased after 6 p.m., a 6-pack of beer was also purchased, which is basically, hey, sweetie, when you're on the way home from work, can you pick up some diapers? And they still to this day correlate all that things. Now, that data is probably out of date by now, but they used to be on the same aisle. Now they're just next to each other, which is pretty crazy. But you have a crazy story about Target. Can you tell us about this Target story?
And that's what I was just going to bring up, because that reminded me when you said that. I love to tell this story, especially in like the AI presentations, because it really illustrates how almost crystal ball, like almost magic-esque that some of this stuff can get, even though it's really just data. It's data analysis and trend recognition. And this was from years ago. I mean, this was from before AI was ever, like ChatGPT was ever on the nightly news. So basically the bottom line is, this girl was shopping at Target, 16-year-old girl, and her dad came into the store and he got all pissed off, and he's, where's the manager? And he's freaking out. And it turns out they were getting letters or advertisements from Target, targeted advertisements from Target in their mail that were for diapers and for formula and like other baby stuff. And he's freaking out. He's like, how dare you advertise this stuff? My daughter's 16, like blah blah blah. And the manager, of course, has no idea what's going on. He's like, dude, that's way above my pay grade. I don't know what's happening. Turns out, long story short, she was pregnant, and based on her purchasing habits on her Target account, the Target algorithm recognized that she was pregnant based on her purchasing habits, and Target knew and was able to send her mailers to her house before she even announced it to her family or anything like that. So I don't remember exactly if she knew at that point or not. But it just goes to show like how able these algorithms and now this AI is to pick up on subtle trends and subtle patterns that humans are not good at recognizing or don't pay attention to. But that's one of the strengths, and we'll get into that later with the tactics, but like that's one of the vast strengths of AI is the ability to analyze large amounts of data and pick up on pattern recognition and trends, and project that forward as well that humans just aren't good at, frankly. We don't have the capability to retain or process that quantity of information at one time. And then if you try to start to do it over long periods of time, memory is, as many of us know, not as good as a computer for sure. So,
right. Yeah. That was just that was the introduction, and that's now at least a decade old at this point.
Right. Yeah. That's an old story. Yep.
So I know the listeners are probably itching to get into tactics now. But one last thing before we get in there, what is the impact is this going to have? Like, what if you're listening to this podcast and you're in your car and you're like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't, whatever. Internet came, social media came and went, and, I'm still in business. I'm Jim's Plumbing. Like, how's it different now? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, so here, actually, this is very timely. I was just having a, heated, it was a Facebook discussion. So as you can imagine, for those of us who are active on Facebook, about if/when AI robotics will ever replace blue collar jobs. Now, as you can probably guess, Hugh, my assertion is it's just a matter of time, bro. Like, it's gonna happen. And the counter discussion was, well, we were talking about truck drivers, and I had asked, hey, what do you think? This guy had experience in the trucking industry. I said, what do you think about if and when the Tesla Semi is going to disrupt truck driver industry with autonomous driving, electric vehicles, et cetera? And he basically dismissed it. He was like, it's never going to happen. Like, it's not good enough. They're always going to need human supervision. And one of his points, which I thought was very fair and good, was truck drivers do a lot other than just driving the truck and keeping it between the lanes, right? He's like, they get out, they deal with the loads, they do all this other stuff and whatnot. And I said, that's very fair. I do not think that we're there yet. And even in the next probably decade, I see, the requirement just from a safety concern perspective, even though the stats show the Tesla full self-driving has like way fewer accidents. Like it's orders of magnitude safer than human drivers, statistically speaking. But because of, people are just worried about that stuff, largely unfounded, but that's like a natural emotional response. Yeah.
All you ever hear
they just don't trust.
Another Tesla crashed with this fancy stuff. You don't actually see the hundreds of thousands of other crashes that same day.
Right. It's like the FSD has like one accident per million miles or something, and humans have like 1,000 accidents per million miles or something like that. It's like, again, it's orders of magnitude off. But because of the emotional concerns and, whatever, fine. For the next decade, I think we're going to at least have to have some sort of human supervision, especially in like an industrial setting, like a truck driver. So that was his point. And my counter argument was, if you've seen some of the advancements in robotics and like humanoid robotics recently over the past 6 to 9 months, Tesla bought, there's another, I forget the other company that's doing it, that's making pretty good progress, but like, we're not far off, and the rate that technology moves, we are going to be able to replace most, if not all, of even blue collar jobs that require physical interaction. There's a burger bot, that's literally doing the entire line work of a fast food line cook. All this stuff is coming, and again, it's coming in decades, not centuries. Is kind of my point.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of get into just a little bit of the machine side, the blue collar side. But what we're here to talk about today is how you think, or not that you think, you can show, and we can show, it's really come after AI that's now accessible to all of us. Is it coming after not the blue collar stuff? It's coming after what no one thought it would be able to come after, and that's human creativity. And
that's the opposite of how everybody thought it would happen. Everybody thought, oh, robots are going to take us, warehouse workers jobs and stuff. And it's like, yeah, that is going to happen, but it's funny that it kind of happened in reverse just because robotics is lagging a little bit. It's way easier to iterate on software. It's cheaper, it's easier and faster. Robotics will get there, but software's just gotten there first.
So I'm gonna dispel some doom and gloom real quick because I have an abundance mindset. So this has always been going on with new technologies, blah 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 blah. And if you go back during Henry Ford's time, they had whip makers for horses, and they said, "Oh well, what about the automobile? No one's going to need your whips for horses." And some of the people stuck their head in the sand and said, "Oh well, don't worry, that'll never take off." And others said, "You know what? That thingy has a spinny thing, and it needs a belt, and I make leather, so I'm going to start making belts for the spinny thing." And they were just slightly aware of the new technology, and they adopted it, and they were ahead. They were the ones who ended up making it, right? For those of you who don't know, I'm really big on lean, and that comes from Toyota. Toyota didn't even make cars in the 30s. They made looms. They made clothes. And now they're the best manufacturer in the world. But on the blue collar side of things, I just saw a video 2 days ago from a friend of mine, Jack Bussey, or it's Busey, maybe. Sorry, from the UK. Anyways, he is demonstrating a robot in his manufacturing facility. And the way the Japanese and lean, 2-second lean people usually use robots is very different than the way most Western companies use robots. Western companies target replacement of humans, and Japanese companies and 2-second lean companies target the augmentation of humans. So it's a very different thought process for the same tool. But with that being said, it used to be, I'm a $1 billion company. I can afford this $4 million robot, and I'm going to need a team of programmers to program that robot to weld this spot. What I saw yesterday blew my mind. It was a $30,000 robot. There's a capture button, and you can play record, and then you manually move the robot arm, say weld here, weld there, pick up this thing and move it, and recording, and it'll simulate that, and there's no programming at all. Anyone can set it up. And he actually had it basically laser mark something, turn around, cut something, laser mark it, assemble it, and then if it encountered a problem, it'd pick up a cowbell and ring the cowbell. And he was like, "Oh yeah, we just did that for fun." And so yeah, it's coming. It's kind of crazy.
I love that. That actually makes me think, like the record button and then replaying it back. That makes me think of one of the tools that I like to recommend to folks, especially business owners, frequently, which is, there's a couple out there. So Trainual, SOP, Creation is the genre, but Scribe is another one. Scribe with 2 E's, I think, and then Trainual. So there's a handful out there. Those are two of the ones I'm more familiar with that I tend to like the best. But what it does is you can record yourself doing a task that is, repetitive of some sort. Maybe it's a training you're trying to put together. As the Trainual, as the name implies, this is used often for creating training manuals, creating training videos. And what it will do is it will take your process that you went through, and it'll analyze the video and watch you doing it, and then it will automatically pull out what it believes are the most pertinent steps, and it'll document those. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. You can create a video out of it, obviously. You can have it convert that into a text document that lays out the steps, and it'll automatically take screenshots and snippets of like where it thinks you're doing the most important steps. So where it wants to point out like, hey, click this button, fill in this drop down if it's a computer virtual task that you're doing. And it'll just create a training manual, create a step-by-step how-to document out of that just by you having done the task one time, upload the video, and it'll auto detect the important steps and generate it all of its own accord. So that's a really big one for anybody that has to train employees, anybody that has repetitive processes that you want to automate, offload to a VA, again, offload to a physical employee in your business. That one's huge for business owners. And I've had a lot of people say,
every time?
No, of course not. I mean, then that's going to be the theme today, right? Is we're still very early in all this stuff. Nothing is perfect. You're going to have to iterate on it. Look at Caleb, right? So he's in the group chat with us. He's been playing around with HeyGen to create his video avatar of himself, his AI avatar of himself. And the second iteration, it was doing this every 5 seconds, and for the audio listeners, like, it's just
His head
herky
movements were
jerky.
weird.
His head was twitching everywhere because when he did the training video, he looked to the side once during it out the window or something, and it picked up on that and it started incorporating it into his like natural movement pattern. So it overemphasized that item, but the resulting video he shared with us was pretty funny. But he just re-recorded the training video and now it looks great. He sent us the version 3 of it. So really, if you have to just try 3 things or 3 times to get something 90% solution, like, that's pretty good. I can't learn how to play piano just by playing 3 pieces, right? So that's
Right.
pretty good, even though you do need to put some work into it.
Well, here's the crazy part, kind of to supplement what you're talking about, is, okay, it gets it 80% correct.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what you were describing earlier is a training manual, and that can take weeks and weeks to build, and it's a waste of people's time.
Yep.
And their real job is to do the job, not to make a
Mm-hmm.
training manual often, right? For small business owners and
Right.
small businesses. Okay, so now in 30 seconds, or I don't know, let's say it takes 2 hours, it spits out a document that's 80% correct. You just correct a few things. Now it took you 1 business day instead of 3
Mm-hmm.
weeks.
And that's the biggest takeaway I think that hopefully everybody gets out of this is, even at the 80% solution, even at me having to, fix some issues or some mistakes it makes and getting it up to 100%, you're still saving yourself hours and hours and hours of work and effort and aggravation. And when you translate that into like professional trades, I want to draft up a contract, right? I go to an attorney and I tell them from scratch to draft up this contract. It's going to take them 10 hours, billable at $500 an hour,
And they're doing it
that's
from-
$5,000. Yeah, and then you can say, hey, ChatGPT, get me like the 90% solution of this contract based on other examples you can find on the internet, etc. Or you can upload your own, however you want to do it. Now you have the attorney spending 1 hour as opposed to 10. So you just saved yourself 90% of the cost just by plugging this into ChatGPT. Like, that's the power of it. Is, no, it might not get you all the way there, but it's still going to be a net gain and net time savings and money savings way beyond what you're currently doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's huge. That's huge. Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to you, let you take it away, and we can either get into some tactics. I think you have some slides you wanted to go over as well. And so again, I apologize in advance to some of the listeners, just listeners out there. This will be available in the description with links to see it. We're going to do our best to communicate that. But this is a lot of the stuff you have to see it and how easy it is, and just be aware. So we're going to go ahead and get into that now.
Yeah. And I won't, I'll try not to bore people too much with slides per se, but I'll use them as a guide for the discussion. And Hugh, jump in. Like, if you want to expand on anything, please let me know. We can dig in a little bit deeper. I'll hit some of the most common categories where I've gotten use out of these, and maybe give some specific examples of specific tools, specific use cases, or both. And then I do have a couple of videos that should be entertaining at the very least to folks. So hopefully the audio listeners can come back and watch the YouTube video later to get the full effect of those. But I'll try to describe them as we're going through as well. So,
and before we get into it, I have one more caveat, and one more thing to throw at the listeners to keep in mind. Okay, I want to go back to that blue collar thing we were first talking about, where robots are going to replace everything. And I want you to think about this very differently. And this is one of the reasons why I'm successful. This is one of the reasons why, I don't know, whatever, I'm famous in the 2-second lean community and the real estate community, is the way I think about systems is fundamentally different than the way most Westerners think about systems. So remember, the Japanese fundamentally use robots to augment human capabilities, meaning the goal isn't to replace the human. The goal is to make that human's life easier and better. Those same robots are available to Western companies, GM, Ford, Mercedes, German companies, whatever. The difference is, it's staggering when you go into, and I've been to these facilities. you're going to have massive defects because the Western companies are trying to eliminate humans with these robots. And then the robots end up falling flat on their face, or they're not supported anymore because the company goes out of business, or, whatever. Some engineers take a vacation and there's a defect and they're not able to fix it. Versus the Japanese companies, they're never trying to replace the human. They're trying to augment the human's capabilities. And so the way they set their processes up is very different. So just keep that in mind as you go through these examples, because just because you have them doesn't mean you're going to be successful. And if you are successful now, it's not about now. It's about how rapidly can you keep up. And Dean's got some crazy examples of just 1 year ago till today.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, Hugh. And I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into that. Like, there's a couple of kind of idioms that I like to say or lean on or regurgitate. You're not trying to replace yourself yet, at least in the near term, next couple of years or even next couple of decades. What you're doing is you're multiplying yourself. So you're not going to completely get yourself out of the loop. It's still going to require human involvement. And whether you're talking about the content creation side, the creative side, or the blue collar side, again, in the next couple of decades, I'm pretty confident there's still going to be human involvement. It's just going to change the ratio. You're going to have a supervision role of humans instead of an active role. So you're still going to have roles for people. You're not, we're not completely deleting jobs. It's just going to change how the employment and management landscape looks. So, your job is not going to be taken by AI. You are not going to be replaced by AI. You are going to be replaced by a human who knows how to use AI. That's where the change and the shift is going to come in. Yeah. So if you're not prepared to adjust your skill set and be able to manage these tools and use these tools, that's where you're going to run into trouble. Like you were pointing out earlier, all of these disruptive technologies throughout history, the internal combustion engine, the automobile, the internet, email, etc. Like, we still have jobs after all those disruptive technologies. It's not, things just shifted, and the people, like you said, who adopted it and were able to leverage it to, again, multiply themselves, make themselves more efficient, effective, and powerful in their business. That's who excels and survives and thrives. And the people who stick their head in the sand, like you said, those are the ones who get left behind and complain that, the internet took my job. So I think that's the difference that we have to be, the mindset that we have to go into this with.
100%.
And also, kind of like you said, garbage in equals garbage out. I love that as a saying. It's a common computer science saying and programming saying. It's like, if you give this tool junk, like, no offense to Caleb, but like Caleb did, right? He didn't mean to, but he just accidentally looked out the window. He was providing garbage into the input, and what did he get out? He got a video that looked like he was an owl with his head spinning around, right? So he got garbage out. So it takes practice. You'll get better as you do it. That's why iterations are a thing, but keep that in mind as well. And don't just write this off and say, oh, this tool is shit because it didn't work for me the first time. It's like, well, okay, what could you have done better? Or how were your prompts? How did you prep it? Stuff like that. So,
right. Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to get into the some of the tactics now. Before we do that, or as you're pulling all that up, can you tell us the difference between automation and AI? Because that's a bunch of baloney right now that people are just jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah, and I'm glad you reminded me, because I did want to cover that and make sure people understand the difference. Automation is, which, like you said, they're often confounded. So many people will use the term AI when they're just talking about automation. A lot of automation may incorporate AI, and then it's kind of a hybrid. And I think that's really where you can maximize the benefit, is by combining the two. But just to differentiate so people understand, especially when they're being pitched a product or software that's like advertising AI, if all it's doing is setting up a rule set and following this strict rule set and is unable to deviate from that, it's unable to, create or adapt, that's automation. So if it's just following simple if then, if this happens, then I do that. If I see this input, then I'll give that output. That's automation. And automation's great. And there's a ton of efficiency and advantages that you can gain from automation. AI is this is not technically strictly accurate, but you can think of it as it's thinking. If it encounters a problem, it will think how to overcome it. So that's the difference, is like AI is adaptable. AI can generate essentially new ideas, whereas automation just follows what you told it or what the programmer told it in the beginning. So that's, I think, the easiest way to differentiate the two.
Cool. Yeah. And I think that was really important for the listeners to understand.
It is. It's very important. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, we'll set the stage here with, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go into a video that came out. This came out in 2023. So the prompt that they gave this AI video generation tool was Will Smith eating spaghetti.
It's too loud. You'll have to tell it and then play it. You can't talk over it while it's going.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so this is a video from last year, from 2023. The prompt.
You just mute it if you want to. That'll work.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, this is a video from 2023. The AI video generation software. The prompt they gave it is let's see Will Smith eating spaghetti, and you can see kind of how ridiculous and obviously fake and messed up and like nightmare fuel this is. So that's that's what you got out of this video generation AI, a year ago, if not less. And then fast forward to 2024. I share again here.
I think a lot of the listeners remember that.
You've probably seen it. It kind of became a meme. It's
when they're laughing too. It's not
spaghetti coming out of his ears. It's right. Yeah. It's craziness. And then now this was just released a couple months ago. So essentially within 12 months from the start video to the video I'm about to show. And you can, again, if you pull up the YouTube version, you can see the difference, but otherwise the audio listeners have to take our word for it. You went from terrifying nightmare fuel, ridiculous spaghetti coming out of orifices and like heads on backwards nonsense to, wait, is this real? Or what am I, what am I looking at? So these are prompts that have been given to Sora, which I would not have been able to tell this cat video right now, that looks 100% real. Hey, Hugh, what do you think?
Yeah, that cat video, maybe
it looks like it was recorded on my phone.
The blankets or something, maybe.
Yeah. Yep.
This one's paper planes flying into trees.
Yeah, and this is an underwater prompt. Yeah, underwater video of an octopus. So the prompt was a large orange octopus is seen resting on the bottom of the ocean floor, blending in with the sandy and rocky terrain. Its tentacles are spread out around its body, and its eyes are closed. The octopus is unaware of a king crab that is crawling towards it from behind a rock. Its claws raised. Scene is captured from a wide angle, blah, blah, blah. It describes kind of how they want the camera view, etc. But it looks like it was recorded on an underwater camera of a real octopus and crab crawling around. Like the movements look natural. The focus, the animals, the resolution, the sand moving around. It all looks.
There's no possible way that I could have tell. Even though we know this isn't real,
right.
We're looking at it. You and I are probably more trained than not. I still can't tell.
Yeah, it looks amazing. So that's how far it's come. It's come from, completely unpassable to almost indistinguishable.
Can you back it up to the first third where they're kind of like walking over the Tokyo street or whatever?
Yeah, let me see if I can find that.
I think it's above the C and the A were captured right there somewhere a little bit further.
There we go.
Yeah, this one.
Beautiful snowy Tokyo City. Camera moves through the bustling city street, following several people enjoying the beautiful snowy weather and shopping at nearby stalls. I would have thought this was drone footage. That's exactly what it looks like. Yep.
There's cherry trees with blossoms falling. Everything's intricate. It's not copy pasted. Every tree is actually different. It was shocking.
Yeah, it's amazing. And this literally just came out. Sora came out. It was released, a month ago, maybe two. So this is the newest and greatest, but again, it just illustrates how quickly technology generations are a matter of months or a year versus human generations, which are decades. So that's how fast it moves. Another example, another kind of perspective setter that I like to tell is for those of us who had the first iPhone, just think, and that was, now we're on generation 14. It's only been 15 or 17 years later. So it's been almost a generation a year, and just think about the capabilities of the current iPhone versus the iPhone 1, or even the iPod, like the black and white iPod, right? Or I think the first one had no screen at all. So just think about how far we've come in that time and the advancements we've made. And again, that's with hardware. Software is even faster because you can iterate at almost no cost other than your time, and just repeat, lather, rinse, repeat, and improve.
Well, and I want to kind of talk about what you had just said about the iPhone, right? I remember having this conversation 2 years after, I think it was 2009, with my sister, who was a doctor. And I was like, "Hey, sis, I'm gonna give you my old iPhone because I'm getting a new one." And it was like iPhone Gen 3 or 4 or 3S or something back in the day. And she's like, "Why? I just make phone calls. Like, I'll never need that." Right now, you cannot go through medical school or go work at some places without iPhones, not even smartphones, without iPhone specifics. The people who said, "Oh, I'll never do XYZ, I'm Jim's Plumbing." Well, guess what? Jim's Plumbing now has an iPhone or a cell phone. And it is not a smartphone. It is not possible for Jim to do any day-to-day transactions without that smartphone. AI is so much faster than what has already gone on. And we don't even know what it even begins to look like. So,
yeah, and that's a great lead in to our first category here, which is going to be branding and content creation. And it's the same thing, like you said, with a plumbing company that uses an iPhone or doesn't, right? They have all paper invoices. They only take checks. Yes, it's possible. You can do it, but you're going to get way left behind by the company who's doing, invoices that you can send directly to the customer's phone right while you're standing there with them. And Hugh, I don't know how much you talk about or emphasize branding and digital media, digital marketing on your channel, on your podcast, but I think it's one of those things that a lot of businesses, especially businesses who have been around for a while, say exactly what you just said. I don't need it. It's, this new age bullshit. It's whatever. You don't need it. You're right. You do not need it to be even objectively successful. But if you do want to grow, if you do want to expand and improve and make your life easier, frankly, if you want leads to come to you and not have to be relying on word of mouth referrals and just relying on really lumpy demand and income, this is something you want to incorporate in your strategy. I don't love it. I hate social media, to be honest with you. But in my mind, in the business world, it's a necessary evil.
I'll give you.
So this is the first category. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll give you a quick example of exactly what we're talking about. One, anyone who knows me, and actually you knew me from kind of before that I really had a brand. I mean, I had stuff online, but it wasn't unified. And now I've rebranded many, many times. And now I've settled finally on Small Biz Rescue. And from the last 6 months or 1 year, you've seen all of my content unify, all of my socials unify, all of my branding unify. Everything has links and it points to itself. That was a scaffolding that took a year for me to get going. But it doesn't have to be hard like that. I'm building a digital brand. My contractor, I was like, "Hey man, you really need an Instagram." He's like, "Nah, I don't need Instagram. I'm not a girl," or whatever was left back in the day. I said, "Just take pictures of my before and after of my project that I'm already hiring you to do. It'll take you an extra 30 seconds. So he has just a before and after photo of my projects. Now he has a history going back a long time. He's getting calls for him to go bid jobs because he's got a track record. That's just because of Instagram. He's not even anything sophisticated. And that's his only presence online. He's not paying for ad spend. His name's getting out there organically. And how many contractors do I know who are dying for business that don't know where to get the next job from, that could have just done this the whole time?
Yep. You'd be amazed. And it's not a light switch, right? Like you said, it takes a long time to build that up and start getting traction. You can't just flip it on day one and expect the leads to start pouring in. It takes work and it takes time. Again, some of these AI tools are going to help make that easier on you, especially if you're not a creative person like I'm not. That it helps me with ideation and generating ideas and content. But yeah, the amount of people that I've made connections with and going back to your initial story, like that's how I started this whole kind of group that we have going on for the retreats, and getting in the same rooms as some of these people that have really springboarded my life, to be honest, is through social media. So it does have its advantages. If you choose to leverage them, you can really make it work for you. And I've had a ton of people reaching out to me just out of the blue. I go to a lot of meetups. I meet people and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've seen you. Didn't you put out this reel or this post or whatever?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, like that's cool." But it's amazing how much inbound traffic you get from a business perspective just by having, like you said, just by having a presence out there and putting yourself out there. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, some of the ways that AI can help with branding and content creation. If you don't have a strategy, it can help you come up with a strategy. Think about utilizing, and I'm going to focus mostly on ChatGPT through all of this because it's one of the most ubiquitous tools, and it's applicable to almost everything. It doesn't do stuff as well in like niche areas or things that, if you have a specialized tool that only focuses and is custom designed to do one specific task or subset of tasks, ChatGPT is not going to do as well as that, but it'll get you the 80% solution. And for most people who are just getting started, it can do, 90% plus of what they need to do, and it can do it at the 80% plus quality range without having to pay for and find and research and learn 20 different tools. So that's where I'm going to focus, and we can dig into some more specifics later on a future episode or whatever. But I think that's going to be the most benefit for the largest amount of people and the easiest way to get started. So anyway, you can have ChatGPT. Part of prepping, as I mentioned earlier, is kind of telling it what you expect of it, telling it what you want to get out of this conversation. So you can tell it, I want you to act as an experienced professional brand manager or content creator or, social media manager, and kind of set the stage, and then that'll direct where it focuses its attention in terms of its repositories of data that it kind of leverages to answer your question. So instead of forcing it to guess, and reference the entire internet, you can tell it, hey, only look at the sections of your database or the sections of your knowledge that refer to brand management or content creation. And that'll help give you a much better, more tailored answer to the type of question you're asking. So that's prepping. But anyway, you can tell it, hey, I want you to act as an experienced social media manager in the real estate investing field. Here's some information about my business. Here's some information about me. Here's some information about my goals. I would like you to create a brand strategy for me, and find me a niche, whatever, and help you develop that from the ground up. It can help, like we said earlier, analysis of large repositories of data. It can pick up on trends, whether that's trending. Which part?
Just, hey, brand creation that you're talking about right there. Like, actually,
yeah, I mean, I don't have a visual example necessarily, sure, but I can talk through. I asked it to create a content calendar. So every day, I said, I want to post 5 times a week. I want 3 of those 5 posts to be reels. I want the other one to be a static meme post, and the other one to be an informational post or whatever, a quote or something like that. And it'll dope out your entire month, and you can tell it, here are the categories I want, here are the topics I want, and you can refine it. So I got an initial first draft. I didn't really love it. I said, I want more of this. I want less of this. Refined it, and then now I have a 30-day calendar that tells me every day, like, the type of post, the content of that post, and it keeps me on track with my brand strategy and what I want to put out there to help educate my audience.
And so what it did for the listeners, the first thing you said is you made it specific and narrow, and you said, show me this, right? And I have a brand. I have a brand manager. I have a team of VAs that do all my editing and planning what I'm going to talk about. ChatGPT spit it out in a few seconds.
Right.
And
for free.
And you probably
versus how much do you pay?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm currently paying quite a bit. And but boom, ChatGPT spit it out. Now you're just following something. But you have ChatGPT 4.0. It's connected to the internet. You can say, give me the trends for these topics, right? Real estate for this week, and write me out a list going over the most viral topics of this category, right?
Right, in real time. Yeah, exactly. What's trending this week, so I can take advantage of that attention and that that trend. And then where we talk about incorporating automation, maybe I'm still lazy or I'm not in the habit yet of posting every day. So what I need is an email in my inbox every morning that tells me you are going to go post this post type. And oh, by the way, here's a draft video script for you on the content, the specific topic for today, and hashtags and this, that, and the other. So you can set up an automation like I did to go have ChatGPT reference the content calendar, look at what day it is today, pick that day off the content calendar, and say, "Oh, today you're doing a video reel about lean, right?" So. And then it says, all right, I'm going to take that topic now and spit out a draft video script based on what I think is trending or what, based on your previous history of posts, however you want to direct it. Put that in an email, send it to my email. So when I wake up every day, I pull up my email at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and I look, and the first thing at the top of my email inbox is, "Hey, idiot, here's what you need to go post today, and here's the script for it, so just go record it." And if you don't want to record it, guess what? There's tools out there where you can just copy and paste that script into, like we were talking about the AI avatar, and your AI avatar can read it. It can look like you, and it can sound like you, and we can show that. I have a video example of that next as well, while we segue into that. So
that's
unless, Hugh, do you have anything else?
It's really close to a personal assistant.
It is a personal assistant. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can set up your own personal assistants. There are generic ones that will help you like schedule, events on your calendar. So it sees, hey, I see you have a dinner planned for, 6 p.m. with Hugh next week. Do you want me to call them and make reservations? And you can have an AI agent with the voice interaction, which we'll also play an example of that in a little bit here. Call the restaurant, make a reservation for you. I did that for the ski retreat. For the first night when we went out to that restaurant there. Now, that was actually a fun example because that restaurant didn't take reservations. So my AI agent called the restaurant and they told them like, "Hey, we don't make reservations." So I got a message back that said they don't take reservations. Here's the details, whatever. The manager said she was going to call you. So it gave them my number. And no kidding, 2 hours later, I got a call from the manager of the restaurant that said, "Hey, we got a call from your assistant. Like, I know you wanted to book a reservation for 17 people. We don't do reservations, but here's, whatever." And so that saved me, an hour of my time just calling, figuring out all this stuff, and it did it all on its own accord. So there are generic personal assistants, and then like this, you can set up specific tasks that say, I want an email every day to remind me to do a post or to help me do a post. So there's specific assistants as well.
Wild.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that, and it was convincing.
Yeah,
and we knew it wasn't real.
Oh yeah, and I had to call Rocky as well at the retreat and just say, "Hey, I want you to find a time to set an appointment for dinner with Rocky this week or whatever." So yeah, it's pretty good. So I will play, speaking of the video generation, the AI avatar, here's an example. This is an older example, but it's still pretty good. Let's take a look at this guy. And we'll pull it up. And what this is, I recorded this video in English of me saying a sentence. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something along the lines of, "Hello, everybody. My name is Dean. I don't speak Mandarin, but this is me translating it into Mandarin." And I uploaded it into Hey Gen, which is one of my favorite tools for the AI avatar and the voice replication. And what it did is it translated my words in my voice in English into Mandarin words in my voice with my lips moving, looking like I'm speaking the Mandarin words. So for those who are watching on video, you guys will get to see that.
So
There you go.
So I was not prepared for that. Dean sent me that video, and I instantly knew it wasn't him, not because I couldn't tell, but because I knew Dean didn't speak Mandarin. However, I am fluent in Mandarin. It sounded exactly like Dean's voice. The facial expressions sounded proper, and were matched with what he would have sounded like had he spoken it. It did not sound like an American speaking it. It sounded like what Dean would speak if he spoke fluent Mandarin. And it was absolutely spot on. I mean, I knew.
And that's why I sent
and
it to
was like,
Hugh.
holy crap,
Yeah.
this is like, it wasn't, yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It is
I was like, tell me how accurate this is. Like, how did it do? Because obviously I have no, and I specifically picked Mandarin for two reasons. One, because I knew it was very complex language that is probably difficult to translate from English. And two, because I knew Hugh knew it. So I was like, all right, I have a somebody who can evaluate how good this tool did. So that was why I picked that one.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But think about from a business perspective, right? That's all fun and games. But from a business perspective, think about two things. One, you can now reach customers, audience in any language.
Yep.
You know, if you're like Hugh, you're putting out YouTube videos. Now you have access to an entire another subset of humans, an entire another market segment of people who speak Spanish, for example, Spanish speakers who are not super fluent or don't speak English at all. Now you can reach those people.
And I still have to do my initial recording I was going to do for my English version of the channel.
Right.
I upload it. It spits it out, does the translation for me, and I drop it out. Super easy.
Yeah. Yep. And then the next part, like I said, the other portion of that is content creation. So if you don't feel good in front of a camera, aren't comfortable in front of a camera, or just don't have time, again, upload the script and it'll now make a video avatar of you talking, which Hugh, I don't know if you wanted to show the one you did. It was pretty good, the one that you put together for that.
I'll share mine right now real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so here's Hey Jen. Can you guys see that?
I can see it.
Okay, all right. Just watch this. Hold on. So the first one, very similar to Caleb's, I recorded it and I was like touching my face or scratching my eyes or something, and like the face would like disappear. My hand would like disappear through my face. This is the second thing I ever did.
And I do not have sound on that, Hugh. I don't know if you can hear it or not.
You don't have sound?
Nope.
Let me try to share. Stop sharing. I'm going to try to reshare. Share screen. Okay, hold on. All right. Can you guys see that now?
I can see it.
All right. So we're going to try this here. Okay. So
Yeah, dude, that's so powerful. And for those not watching on video, like the
I'm on the set, and I
mannerisms,
just shot that.
right? Yeah, right. For those watching, you can see the same setting that he's in right now as we're looking at the video. But like, if you look at the minute details that make it look real, right? It's his throat is moving as he's talking, like the muscles are moving, the shadows coming off the lights, but based on when he moves his head, the shadow on his chest is moving. It's that little stuff that you don't necessarily consciously pick up on unless you're looking for it, but like that's how good it is, and that's what makes it look so real, is that attention to detail.
The other thing,
and that's the level we're at now with these AI video generation.
And that was done with 2 minutes of or 2 minute and 30-second upload of me
Of training
sharing.
video. Yep.
When I showed this to other people, they were like, first off, they were blown away. I didn't film any of that. But the thing that really got them was my hand movements. They said my hand movements matched my personality of what I would normally have done correctly. They weren't just randomly throwing hand movements in. If I were emphasizing something in speech, my hands would come up and make that emphasization or whatever you want to call it. And that was crazy. So
Yeah, and one of the most powerful aspects is, again, when you start to stack tools, right? So like I was describing with getting that email, I could easily take that an extra step and just, instead of sending it to myself in an email, or in addition to sending it to myself in an email, take that text script that it generated based on the topic of the day, upload it into HeyGen, and then now, instead of an email with just, hey, here's what I want you to post today, maybe I'm getting an email that has a video attached to it that says, go post this. Or take it one step further and upload that video into your, I think repost.io is one of the good ones that will blast your content out to multiple platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And now it's making the post for me. Like you can really go to the moon with this stuff in terms of how many things you can link together into a chain of events, if you will. So,
yeah, I mean, this is just absolutely wild. And and what you call, and you have a phrase for that. What do you call it? Super stacking is what I think you called it.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah. So he's got an automation tool that says, hey, in the morning, go to ChatGPT, pull the trending video. ChatGPT, hey, make me a script. That script gets then sent to HeyGen. HeyGen generates the video. That video is downloaded somewhere, and then it could be uploaded into the social media manager. The social media manager can then say, oh, well, the best time to post is Tuesdays at 10 a.m. for YouTube, but for Instagram Reels, it's going to be, Wednesdays at 6 a.m. It's going to know.
Yeah, and if I'm doing all this stuff myself, maybe I had a meeting with Hugh at 10 a.m. and I can't post at the optimal time. Now I can, because it's somebody else doing it. It's the computer doing it for me.
And that's combining AI and automation.
That's the power. Yep. When you start to stack these things together.
And so this is like a thing that anyone can learn. Like we're on the cutting edge of this, but the lay person can do this, right? That HeyGen,
it's just getting reps
a year.
It's like anything. You practice it, you go in and you suck at first, right? Everybody sucks at first when you're learning something new. Go in, get the reps, spend some time on it, because it's worth it. It's valuable. Like this is going to pay dividends astronomically compared to watching Netflix, right? So how are you spending your time? Like it's worth the investment, I think.
Right. And let's say you even just did anything else. Like let's say you just took an hour out of your evening. Don't even worry about the whole time. You get home, you spend an hour. What's an extra 5 business days? Sorry, 5 hours out of the week is going to be roughly a business day. You just get a whole extra day just to learn this stuff. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, because it is the difference between, even just maintaining where you're at. Even if you say, I don't want to grow, is the difference between maintaining your status, in competition with other businesses, or falling behind, like getting potentially put out of business.
Yeah,
that's I think those are the stakes we're talking about with when this stuff really starts to take off and people start to adopt it.
Well, if you're a small business, if everyone else is doing this and you're not, you will be left behind.
That's what I mean. Exactly.
And it's not going to be like last time. It's not going to be like when emails came around and you didn't do them because you were on paper. Like the repercussions for this are insane. And they can compute things, hundreds of thousand times. Like, it can review 100,000 documents in 15, 20 seconds, spit out, hey, listen to all these books. Tell me the key concepts, apply those concepts and answer this question. It'll be able to do that. And it again, use it to augment your people, your staff, yourself. If you try to use it to replace, you're going to be in a clunky situation. If you try to say, hey, here's the tools that we have, here's how you can do it, you're probably going to be a little better off.
Yeah. Multiply, don't replace, at least for the time being.
Dean, before you go, is there any last words you want to leave the audience with as you're kind of over the subject?
Ooh, yeah, man, I think just what we were talking about, get out there and play with it. I would just ask that everybody please at least try this, learn it, mess around, have it tell you a joke, like learn how to interface with it. And I think keep an open mind is the biggest thing. Like, I think you'll be amazed at what you can allow this thing to help you with, this technology to help you with, if you just keep an open mind and go into it kind of with a creative mindset and say, all right, what am I doing on a daily basis that it's kind of like the lean principle, Hugh, that you always say, like fix what bugs you. So if you can identify things that you don't like doing or that you're not very good at doing, maybe see if there's some way that AI could help you with that. Go Google it. Is there an AI tool for bookkeeping? Is there an AI tool for doing my taxes? Is there an AI tool for, picking up my laundry? Probably not yet, but again, you can find a personal assistant that can help you schedule that, or remind you to do it, or motivate you to do it, right? It could even be as simple as saying, hey, please shame me into going to the gym today, right? Like that's the sky's the limit with this stuff. So just go play with it, get that experience, have a growth mindset, accept that you're going to probably be pretty bad at it at first. It might spit out garbage because you're not very good at prompting it. But just take it for a test run. Like it can be fun, it can be as fun as you make it. And it's going to, if you spend the time and do it right, it's going to help you be more efficient and effective at everything in your life, whatever you decide to use it for.
And stay tuned. We're probably going to have Dean back to show us how he built, or how you can build yourself, your own ChatGPT agent for your specific company, and how that may matter. Right? You feed it your manuals, you feed it your things.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you have this like kind of thinking employee with the knowledge repository that can answer your general questions for your team.
Yeah, we didn't even get into probably 5 or 6 other major categories. So I'll just probably drop these as a teaser here for people, like sales and marketing, right? You can have like I mentioned, the AI agents that have audio input and output. They can have a conversation with people. You can
we're gonna say
have customer service intake agents.
This is going to be the more on the why it's important. The next one is just going to be all the things that we can do, and it's going to be crazy. And this is, again, available to us. So, all right. So you had the audience of the salespeople, or maybe I shouldn't even say people at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Sorry, I know we're probably over time already. I'm going to play a quick clip for people just to demonstrate how powerful that you can have a sales agent who is an AI agent, and it can handle objections better than I can. I'm not very good at sales, but it's better than a lot of humans are at it. So let's play just a couple seconds of that. And this is an AI agent cold calling somebody, overcoming objections, and eventually getting the sale. I won't play the whole thing, but wrong video. Sorry. Yeah, so he eventually pitches a payment plan and is like, "Hey, would that help you overcome the price issue?"
Like
And he's
$100
like,
for
"Yeah,"
10
and
months,
then he
something
buys
like
it.
that.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, that's like your typical sales tactics that they just trained this AI agent on, and it sounds like a real human, except for the laugh, which is obnoxious, but otherwise it's pretty good.
And I mean, the crazy thing is that was one, because it's sales and marketing directed, it's got, I mean, who knows, we can give some specifics, but that agent is going to have tactics from not just one sales company. It's going to be all of the sales companies in the world, all of the best things. I mean, the fact that he cut him off, is like, man, I'm not interested. Get off the phone. He's like, oh, no, I totally get it. I hate calls out of the blue. The fact that it knew what the objection was, found another thing, thought through the thing, probably learned the reason why it wasn't because he didn't believe in the product, right? Try to engage him. And then from there, presented a payment option, which eventually it got the sale for a $3,000 thingy.
Yep.
Insane.
And you can, if you have a secret sauce sales recipe that you love, you can train it on that, your specific style, right? You can use the best practices like this one did, or you can train it on your own style. It's however you want to leverage it.
Yeah, it's absolute. I mean, this is insane. I can't even wrap my head around that. And that was not, I mean, the words for Hey Jen for my video avatar are not near as good as the ones for what we just saw. So in the future, when, just a year ago, we had Will Smith eating spaghetti, and now we have me talking, but I'm kind of weird. Now let's flash forward a year. Now I have got that sales capability with me talking. Who knows? I mean, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. And that audio video came out, this sales video came out over 6 months ago as well. So that's not the newest, the latest and greatest, the best version they have either. And it's come a long way.
Yeah. Well, and also the scammers, right? Be on the lookout for scammers. A scammer could call your grandma and pretend to be you with your voice. And
yeah.
I mean,
yeah, deep fakes are becoming way more dangerous.
Yeah.
Especially for people who aren't familiar with this, they can't recognize it.
Yeah,
it's tough for even us to recognize it, honestly, at this stage.
And here's a little tactic of that. If you get something that you don't believe is actually the thing, hang up and reach out and call the person who you think just called you. And it's getting crazy out there, but that's why I think for the second ever podcast for Small Biz Rescue, I wanted to bring this to you guys because we want you to be aware of what's happening, right? We're going to teach you the best systems, the best processes. We actually have our own AI chatbot called Small Biz Rescue. You can find it right now. And I've trained it and fed it all the things, a lot of it with Dean's help, with all the things in the back end about how to run a business, how to prevent a business from failing, right? And the sky's the limit. So, okay. So, Dean, what is a book or resource you wish 18-year-old you or someone just starting out knew about?
Man, that's tough. Just pick one.
You can give two if you want.
I'll go with Extreme Ownership. That's been a huge favorite of mine. It's kind of an indirect benefit, right? Like, it doesn't teach you any specific skills necessarily, how to buy a business, how to buy real estate, how to manage your finances. But I think it just gives you that mindset of everything is within my control internally. I can improve myself. I can take ownership of stuff. And when I take ownership of stuff, I can make it better. That's the mindset I think that leads you into implementing positive change elsewhere in your life, and that you can do with specific tactics from YouTube videos, other books, etc. But also kind of the Rich Dad Poor Dad, Set for Life, like those types of books, which again are more mindset books where it's like these are the goals you should be setting, like these are the important things, and the earlier you get started, the more leverage and growth potential you have. So
huge, great answers. Okay. How do people find out more about you?
Yeah, I'm probably most active on Instagram. So at the Dean of Wealth is going to be my handle on there. Yeah, I mean, we post also at 18 Alpha Investing on Instagram. That's our business page. But there's, we post AI tips and tricks, business buying tips and tricks, real estate, investing, finance, stuff like that. And if you like dogs, then definitely follow my page because my buddy Bullet makes a lot of appearances on there. So.
Oh, that's awesome. And before we go, what is one last call to action you have for the listeners about something that you'd suggest them doing?
Yeah, other than what I already said about like just getting out and logging onto ChatGPT and trying it, like that's my biggest call to action. My other call to action, like, is if you need help, if you run into anything, please just, reach out, let me know. I can't necessarily respond to all messages. I get a lot, but like, when I can, I will. And if I can help you out, let me know. I'd be happy to. If you are interested in the business buying side of things, like how to acquire existing small businesses, we do have a newsletter that we put out weekly as well. That's free, clearedforacquisition.com/subscribe. So we'd love to get your feedback on that if that's a topic that interests you at all as well.
Well, Dean, thank you so much. Again, guys, you guys can find more about him. The links to his socials will be below. And we're probably going to have him back twice at least, or multiple times, but one about just how to buy businesses and what you guys are looking for, what you would do with them afterwards, right? There's so many fundamentals. And you can say, well, I don't care. I'm not going to buy businesses. I'm just trying to run my own. It might help to understand what people that are looking to buy businesses are looking for, and then what they're going to do afterwards. And if you're not doing those things, that's an opportunity for you. So massive value.
It applies from the business sale perspective as well. If you ever, there's a lot of opportunity out there to obviously sell businesses. So if you're getting ready to retire or relocate and want to get some money for the very valuable asset that you've built, a lot of people don't even realize that's an option. So we can help from the sales side as well.
100%. There's several mom and pops that I've bought real estate from, and they had they just planned it maybe 6 months or a year before, they could have gotten so much more for their business.
Oh, yes. We see that all the time.
But because they weren't and they didn't care, the business was worth what it said. And it really took very minimal changes for them to have 10x the revenue, sold it for, twice as much. But yeah. Well, awesome. Well, Dean, thank you so much for being on, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Hugh.
As we wrap up another episode of Small Biz Rescue, remember, your business dream does not have to be a solo journey. We are here to navigate the challenges and celebrate the victories and to provide you the tools you need to break free from entrepreneurial enslavement. Guys, if you're listening right now, you might have gotten value from this. And if you have, it'd be a huge thanks to go wherever you're listening to this from, rate and review this, give us a 5-star rating. We listen and read every single comment and are constantly updating the show. If you want to be on the show, shoot us an email at sbr@hughcarnahan.com. Guys, remember to stay tuned, to take action, keep pushing forward, because with the right steps and a bit of courage, anyone can transform their business and their life. Until next time, keep dreaming, fighting, and let's rescue your business together. Thanks for listening, and remember, next step to your business breakthrough is just an episode away. Woo!